Hello, everyone. This is Kelly with Happy Me Yoga, and I'm here at Wow Live with Andrea Marshall. Hi, Andrea. Welcome.
Hi, Kelly. Great to be here.
Yeah. I'm honored to partner with you on the wellness at work because I just love what you do in terms of promoting wellness and happiness in the workplace. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and how did you end up doing this happiness work?
I think really the way I ended up doing this happiness work was because I recognized in my own experience in the workplace that people are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And making connections to colleagues really makes such a huge difference. And as we came out of COVID, things really shifted. We became very disconnected from each other. And when we look at high performing teams, when we look at the research behind businesses that are productive and profitable and thriving, it's all about the people. And I think in today's business environment, somehow we've lost track of that.
Mm-hmm.
We've leaned into software solutions, forgetting that people use software to do their work. And that really drove me to look into that human component of the workplaces that we work in. How do we build strong teams? How do we work together well? How do we lean into conflict to come into better solutions, bringing diverse opinions and sometimes opposing opinions and having open discussions around that? Those things really make a difference when we look at performance.
Absolutely. And can you share a little bit more about your personal experience in the workplace and what did that look like? And what would you rather have or do if you have that magic power to go back?
To wave my magic wand. So, in my personal experience and what drove me to leave the corporate environment and start working with other organizations was I was doing lots of leadership training. I was learning a lot of things. I was supporting a global team, and my team was really doing well. And I was doing some really specific things with them to have them support and lean into each other, to draw on each other's strengths and balance each other out, teach each other. But I didn't feel like I was getting the support that I was offering. And I saw a lot of leadership training where you'd go and you'd sit in a room for 2 days and you learn all these things and then you just go back to your day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody was following up with me to say, how are you doing as a person in sort of middle management in the corporate world? Like, how are you doing with your team? How can I support you? And it really, what I saw was this disconnect between the sort of upper level management and the people on the ground doing the work. And the people doing the work felt it. They knew it and they struggled with it. And they started seeing layoffs, and there was starting, fear was starting to come in. Every time there was a layoff, there was a why next.
Mm-hmm.
And so people started to fold in on themselves and protect their own selves and became less productive. And ultimately, the environment was really toxic for everyone. What I found myself, kind of my moment of truth for myself, was I was showing up, I was doing my job, and collecting a paycheck.
I love
But I didn't love what I was doing anymore. I didn't have that connection to the purpose of the work anymore that
it.
had been there when I started with this company. I wasn't feeling supported, and I was exhausted
Right.
from greater and greater demands, more and more work. I remember saying to one of my managers, kind of near the end, just giving me more work to do is not professional growth.
Mm-hmm.
I am the kind of person who I love a good challenge. I want to grow. I think most of us do. And I want what I do to be connected to the work I do.
Right.
I want the same kind of support that I'm offering my team. I want the same kind of team building and that same collaboration of ideas. And it just wasn't happening. And I walked away and I was like, I know there has to be a better way. And I was burnt out and exhausted. And so I took a sabbatical year and I went and studied positive psychology. And every day in class, I had a moment of like, If I knew this when.
Yes.
So today, I'm taking all of those. If I knew this, right? I know this now. How can I bring it to those people who need it
Hmm.
so that they can live a thriving, flourishing life? So many of us today are just surviving.
Yes.
And there's so much more. And life is short. We deserve to work in places that support us and encourage us, where we can give our best to support them
Hmm.
and to support the organizations that we're part of. It is a two-way street. And so I use a lot of my background in teaching. So before I went into corporate, I was a teacher. And I'm fascinated by the neuroscience behind it
Yeah.
all, that we do have the ability to change the way our brains are wired. And when we're in these difficult situations where chronic stress is so much affecting our mind and our body,
Hmm.
that we are in this just unhealthy state, people deserve better, business deserves better.
Right. Absolutely. And I think you're not alone in feeling that. In fact, wow, 66% of people in the workplace in the US, that's statistics, 2 out of 3 is feeling burnout.
Yeah.
So we have a big, big task ahead of us. And this falls on the leaders of the company to identify that and support that because you will definitely lose good people. What would you advise to someone listening who is a leader of the company on how can they get started on this or develop something that could reverse that, or maybe the other way of looking at it is how can they turn or transform their culture into a happier workplace?
Transforming culture is challenging, right? It's not, there is no quick fix, there is no band aid. That's what we see with so many of these trainings that we send our leadership to. We send them to a 2 day retreat, or a 3 day workshop, or a 4 day conference, and they learn all of these great things and these great tools, but the implementation of those things takes time.
Mm-hmm.
It takes follow up, it takes commitment, and it takes resilience. And somewhere along the line, we forgot that resilience is struggling well, that it is going to be a challenge, and you have to really understand why you're doing it and what you hope to come out of it with. And so, for the leaders out there of organizations who are looking at their business and saying, I want to be more profitable. I want to have people who walk in the door excited to work here.
Mm-hmm.
There is a way to do that. There is not a cookie, it's not a cookie cutter. It's very specific to your organization, to the culture you want to build. And it does take sustained effort to create change, but it can be done. So transformation initiatives that are, like, we're going to have a 6 month transformation initiative, unless you have some sort of sustaining thing that's going to follow on that, everything will cycle back to where it was. But change is possible, absolutely, and your business is worth the investment.
Absolutely, 100%. And that's why I'm so happy that we bonded together and formed a Wellness at Work Council. Andrea is one of the 5 people, experts in their different field, that will help to create that culture and transform that culture into a place where people love to work, like you said, right? There are datas out there saying that 86% of people will recommend their place to work if they, if they enjoy coming. So
Mhm.
that is also a recruitment tool. And I'm glad that you mentioned people, you mentioned purpose several times, because those are the two core themes in our summit that's happening next month: people, purpose, and performance. We're all linking it
Mhm.
to the bottom line. And I would like to give you the floor to talk about your topic. So, Andrea will be one of our speakers at the summit happening on March 20th in Kiln Ranch Bernardo. So, Andrea, can you tell us why they should attend the summit in person?
I think attending the summit in person is going to really give people an idea of what's possible. We don't know what we don't know until we enter into those possibilities and opening up to new ideas. I'm really excited to be presenting because it's a topic that is near and dear to my heart with my sciencey brain and my positive psychology knowledge. And I'm going to be talking about cognitive bias and how our cognitive biases can influence and interfere with our abilities to connect with people and have healthy, meaningful conversation, particularly in times of conflict. We'll be talking about so often cognitive bias sort of gets a bad rap and like, oh, you have this cognitive bias that's detrimental. The reality is we all have them. And they are part and parcel of the package that we walk around the world and the lens we view the world through. Right. And when we start to understand and can lean into the way that they shape and influence our conversations and the way we look at the world, we can then literally start to transform our perspective, which can lead us to opportunities to connect more effectively with others, to solve challenging problems in really creative ways. We can really unleash a lot of our creative potential when we gather together by understanding what it is we're bringing to these conversations and a bit of empathy for what the other person's perspective is. Now, there's a great study right now that's showing that empathy is on the decline. Mm-hmm. There was a huge boost when emotional intelligence and EQ first came out, and we started to see empathy and compassion going up. And over the past 3 years, it's been on a steady decline. We need to turn that around.
Absolutely. And together with Andrea, there are other speakers who will be teaching us in an interactive format. So it's really a learning experience focused on action and what you can do, tools you can use right away to help your team and also help yourself. Because I believe leaders have to learn or know how to self-regulate as well and model that for their team. Because only if someone is aware of, things that are happening around them and in them that they can help each other. Andrea?
That is so true, Kelly. Like if we want things to change, we have to start here, right? Like that's where it begins, and then we can start to interact in new ways and really shift.
Thank you so much. Where can they get in touch with you, Andrea, if they want to work with you directly?
The best place to get in touch with me is through LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn at Andrea Marshall PMP, or you can reach me at Andrea at positivelymarshall.
Awesome. And we will see you at the Wellness at Work Summit in San Diego on March 20th to celebrate the World Happiness Day. You can reach us at wellatwork.live or happyme.yoga for more information. Thank you so much, Andrea, for your time.
Thanks,
See you and be well.